Helga, let's start with the situation in France, where we've seen Macron knocked off his high horse in the last days. What's going on there?
Well, Macron, who came into office a little bit more than a year ago, uh, failed to address the rage factor in the French population, which had been building up since many years. As a matter of fact, one can say decades. And when he started to implement the consequences of his COP21 Paris climate deal, namely to increase the taxes on gasoline and other fuels, the rage exploded and the Yellow Vest movement, basically ordinary people who can't make ends meet, as one of the Yellow Vest representatives said, these ecologists, they talk always about the end of the world, but for us, it's the question how we make it to the end of the month. So then within 4 weeks, this movement grew, and, some provocations were mixed in, but that does not change the general character of this movement. So then 2 days ago, Macron was forced to basically reverse his entire neoliberal reform program, which he had been implementing. Now, that really shows that the neoliberal paradigm does not function. The reaction to this was a total freak out. The Italians, naturally, who had been harassed by Macron and Brussels, that they should not violate the Stability Pact rules in terms of the budget deficit. They wanted 2.4%, and the EU imposed something like 2%. But then they quickly calculated that if Macron is carrying out all the promises he made in his big speech 2 days ago, namely increasing the minimum wage, increasing the pensions, and not imposing these taxations, that would bring the French budget deficit to 3.4%, and that would even go beyond the Maastricht criteria, which is higher than those of the Stability Pact. Now, obviously, this means that every country which has been bothered by the EU imposing these insane austerity measures now feels reinforced. So the reverberations of this we have to see. Naturally, the neoliberal media completely went out of control. The German conservative weekly Die Welt said now with Macron, France is the new Italy, basically saying that Macron is no longer the partner in solving the EU and Euro crisis, but he is the risk. And they accuse him of crawling, really using an unbelievable language, crawling in front of the Yellow Vests. So naturally, this is an incredible situation. Many people on the scene said this is what Macron did is too little, too late. And then naturally, today, the situation dramatically changed because there was yet another terrorist attack in Strasbourg, where a person of Islamicist background supposedly shot around in several places in the city, and then went to the Christmas market, killed 3 people, wounded another 12. He got shot at himself, so he's wounded, but he managed to escape with a stolen taxi car. And naturally, Macron immediately declared a state of emergency in many major cities. So how that will play out now with the Yellow Vest movement remains to be seen. But it just shows that the whole situation is absolutely unstable, and that the neoliberal paradigm, which we have been discussing now for quite a while, which led to the Brexit, the defeat of Hillary Clinton, the election of the new Italian government, the Yellow Vest movement, all of these are symptoms of the same thing, that you cannot violate the common good of the normal people endlessly in favor of the very rich. And in France, the rage is directed against the very rich, which they say Macron is the president of. that you cannot violate these interests forever without causing really earthquakes. And I think that this is foreboding the demise of the EU, because the EU has proven itself to be absolutely incapable of reform. And therefore, I think we are in for many more turbulent days and weeks and possibly months.